Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. I am so excited. A lot of you have requested that I start showing you how to make some Persian dishes, and I'm excited that I can do that for you. Gustavo and I have finally made the time and we are heading in that direction and we're doing it for you guys. So I'm going to be making a series of Persian stews and rices, different types of rice and different types of stews that we're going to show you how to make. And today I'm excited to make you one of my all-time favorite stews, which is called Ghormeh sabzi, which is fresh herb stew. Now this stew has a lot of herbs in there. So we've got parsley, fresh dill, cilantro, green onions, basil, mushrooms, fresh garlic. It has sour grapes, spinach. It has a lot of stuff in here, but I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do it. So if you take a look at this, Gustavo, look. I've already gone ahead and washed and rinsed and dried all the basil and the fresh mint and the fresh dill and the cilantro. And we've got curly parsley, we've got flat parsley, we've got everything in here. But don't worry, we're not going to put all this in there. I'm going to put this all in the food processor and you're going to see how small this is going to get. So I'm going to start.
That looks like a, I mean, it looks so colorful.
Right?
It's just beautiful. And I know they can't smell it, but it smells great.
The kitchen is smelling good, huh? But seriously, doesn't the herbs
all
smell?
These herbs, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You have there parsley and dill, cilantro, I think, basil. Well, you all will get the recipe, the written recipe.
Oh, absolutely. Don't worry about taking notes right now. So we're going to just pulse this. And you don't want to make it too fine because it's going to melt in there anyway.
And this is cooked anyway.
Well, we're going to be cooking this, exactly. So I don't know if you want to get a shot of inside it here.
Yeah, that's a nice coarse. It's not super fine.
No. So let me get a bowl that we're going to pour that into. I love my new food processor. This is the Breville sous chef. And I love it because it's a 16 quart, and as much cooking as we do, this is just like the perfect size. Oh my gosh, this smells so good.
It really does.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the fresh dill.
I think so too. Well, but the mint is also very...
It's the mint, it's the dill, it's the cilantro. We can't quite decide.
I can really start with parsley.
And there's two types of parsley in here, just to let you know. There's flat parsley and there's curly parsley.
Curly, yeah.
And you know, don't worry about cutting off the stalk, like the stems, because every little bit of this is delicious in here.
Right. And everything gets cooked, so it'll be soft.
It'll be soft. You won't even... Talk about getting your vegetables in on this dish.
That's pretty much does it. So it's going to take like 3 or 4 batches, yeah. So is this, you're not doubling or tripling, or is this like a regular one recipe?
Yes, this is one regular recipe.
This is one
Listen,
it's for a big family or for friends or a party.
We don't know how to make something small, you know. And in all honesty, if you're going through all this trouble of making this, make a big batch, because guess what? This freezes really well.
Oh, wow, that's great.
I was actually going to chop up everything and just dump it all in, but I thought, no, you guys probably want to see what it looks like before, how much herbs and stuff is in here.
Well, I think it's important for all of us to remember that it's always better to make more and have enough to freeze or to put in the refrigerator.
You know, Gustavo, I don't know how to make anything a little bit. My food always multiplies. I always say it's, you know. With Persian food, there's always, you may have 6 people, but you've got enough food for 30 people.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
That's the way it should. All right, so if that's all chopped.
So that's it. Look. Smell. I wish we had
yes,
smell-o-vision so you guys could smell what this
awesome.
is like. So that's it for the fresh herbs for right now. So, hi everybody. So we just got done chopping all the herbs in the food processor, and now we're gonna start the process. So you want to get a good pot, about a 5 or 7 quart pot. We're gonna light it under, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna let that heat up a little bit because we're going to saute our onions and everything like that. One thing I wanted to show you guys was, you want to do this on a medium heat. One thing I wanted to show you guys is we use what's called ure. Ure is it's sour grapes, and it looks like this. Right now it's the season for it. This is before it actually becomes a grape that we all consume. It's extremely sour. Extremely. So this is not something that you're just going to pick up and start eating unless you're complete. But look how beautiful this is. So this is only in season for 3 weeks. So when this is in season, we go buy it by the case, literally a case of it, and we take it apart like this. So it's just the grape itself. We wash it really well. We let it dry, and then we freeze it. If you go into my freezer right now, I've got 3 big bags of frozen sour grapes in there. What I've done is I've taken 2 cups of that, and I put it over low heat, and I put the lid on top. It was frozen, and this is what it comes down to. You melt it down and you mash it up because this is sour, and this is going to go into the pot itself.
Did you have to actually mash them, or they just became that way?
You kind of like halfway through the cooking process, you do want to mash them a little bit,
okay,
because it'll help with it. So now I'm going to add the onions. I think my pot is probably hot. Yep, you hear that sizzle? We're going to add the onions in here, and we're going to...
And this is dry. You haven't put a drop of water.
No, and I'm going to try to sweat it out a little bit. We're going to try to sweat it out. And you want to do that. If you know what, there's going to come a time where you're going to need to add a little bit of water in there. Go ahead and add a little bit of water. It's not a big deal. But you don't want to add in there is the oil. That's what we're staying away from. Some of the other ingredients that are going into this stew is kidney beans. Now, I personally prefer kidney beans because I love kidney beans. My aunt, on the other hand, she doesn't like kidney beans, so she makes this stew with black-eyed peas. There's no right or wrong version of making this stew. You can make it with kidney. You can make it with black-eyed peas. You can do half kidney, half black-eyed pea. Again, it's your preference what you want to add in here. What we're also going to add is sliced mushrooms, because remember, we're no longer using meat. So this is going to become our meat. And crimini mushrooms, they have a meatier texture to it. And then we have what's called dried limes. And literally, you smell this. It smells like just lime.
Yes, lime.
Because this stew is a little bit on the sour side. We don't want it, plain and boring, because that's not fun, right? So let's check out our onions. If you can see, they're starting to sweat. So we're going to sit and wait a minute.
All right, very good. I noticed that when we add water, that's when we get the brown.
It gets a caramelization going. I'm going to add I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic to it. So we've got chopped garlic in here. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric has a lot of health benefits in there. Yes. And it makes everything look pretty. And you don't need that much.
No, it's quite a strong.
Right. So put the lid back on and let this... Do you smell that?
I can smell that.
Maybe add a little bit of water. Not a lot. Guess what we're going to do?
I think they're going in there. Yes.
They're going in here. And we're going to put the lid on. Now, with this, you're going to have to be careful. You're going to have to be careful that this doesn't burn. And what you're trying to achieve here is to get it to be dark green and fragrant. And it's going to become, the fragrance is going to become even more. So this will take about 4 or 5 minutes, but you really do want to keep an eye on this. And this will dwindle down.
So you said about 4, maybe 5 minutes.
But look, it's already starting
to
dwindle down. And look, it's becoming more green. And do you smell it?
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, romance.
So you asked me earlier about doing this in the Instant Pot.
Right.
I don't think it's going to come out in an Instant Pot. First of all, there's too many steps. There's a lot of layering in this cooking. And you really want this to be on low and simmer for 2 or 3 hours. Honest to God, this stew, when I have company that comes over, I make this the day before, and then I warm it up on the day that they come because the flavors have all incorporated in there, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's so tasty. So yeah, this is not an Instant Pot. Persian cooking is not really an Instant Pot friendly cooking. Yeah. No.
But like we said earlier, even though it takes a little more time, if you make enough, you'll be able to freeze or eat, several days, and then it's worth it.
Look at this. This is all incorporated now.
Now it's getting a little. Yes.
Okay, now we can start adding all of our other stuff in here. So we're gonna add this, which was the urid.
Those are the grapes that you cook.
The sour grapes that are
How long do you think that you cook those? Maybe 15 minutes? Or?
Probably. We're going to add about 5 to 6 cups of water. So I'm going to start getting that measured because I don't want my stuff to be sticking to the bottom. And the leaves, the herbs themselves are going to give off some water too.
Right.
Now we're going to add the mushrooms, or the beans actually, the cooked beans that we have.
I mean, I know you cooked these yourself, but I mean, you could use them from a can.
Absolutely. You can use 2 cans of beans. I would just rinse them really well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you could. See how the color, because I like color. Like you had asked me earlier if you could do black beans. You could do black beans, but I just think that the red is so much prettier.
Yes.
Plus, red's my favorite color.
Oh, really? Okay. So these are the mushrooms.
These are the mushrooms. This is our meat. And the mushrooms are going to give off water. The herbs are going to give off water. Don't worry, this will all dwindle down. I know this looks too much, but it really isn't too much.
Yeah, no, then it will get smaller.
You see, this is totally UWL compliant.
Yeah, yes.
If you're following a UWL or a Nutritarian or any of those programs, this is completely compliant with all of those.
No salt, no oil.
You don't need it. There's too much flavor. Right. Now, the other thing that we're going to add is these dried lungs.
Yes.
And I want to show you these. Yes. We've gone ahead and pierced these because once they start cooking in here, it's going to give off a lot of flavor. And honestly, that's about it for this recipe.
So these are dry.
might add just a tad bit.
So that is it.
That's it. And we're going to cook this on low for about 3 hours.
And this is like in a medium heat or
It's medium low.
medium low.
This is low cooking.
Okay.
Slow and steady wins the race,
Yes.
right?
So, like you said, it would be good to make it like in the morning, and then while you're doing things in the house, or I don't
Yeah,
know,
and you can make the beans ahead of time, like I made the beans ahead of time.
Right.
You can chop up the onions ahead of time. You could chop up the herbs ahead of time. You could do all that, and then all you got to do the next day
Just
is put them all together, and easy does it. But I can't wait for you to try
we
this.
will be back soon. Well, not soon, but in a few hours.
In a few hours, we'll be back
to try it.
to try it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shayla.
Hi everybody, I just wanted to show you a little bit of what's going on with the cooking, and we have just started. So it came to a boil and now we're gonna let it simmer. But remember I told you how we're gonna mix all this? Look how easily everything's mixing now.
And I'm assuming that those dry limes, then you take them out, or they stay there?
They're gonna start
Is that
breaking.
a secret? Oh.
They're gonna start breaking when it's cooking in here for that amount of time. And then, some people eat them. And some people just toss them to the side.
Oh.
But it's just there to add a lot of flavor to the stew.
Okay.
So.
Okay, well, we'll keep on waiting.
Exactly. So a few more hours, guys.
Okay.
Or I should say a few more hours, Gustavo, before you get to try this
before
one.
I get to try it.
Hi, everybody. I want to show you what our stew is looking like, or orme sabzi. As you can see, it's coming. Oh my God, the smells so good. So with these dried limes, I want to show you that every now and then, take the back of your spoon and squeeze the dried lime. Let all the flavors come out of it. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm just taking it and pressing against it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you smell it?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if that's a good one or a bad one.
No, that's good. Yes, it smells fresh and delicious.
See when it breaks? Let me show you what it looks like. We're getting a lot of the... See, with the pan side.
Right. Oh.
There's a lot of flavor in them. So,
All right.
we'll be back.
Keep waiting.
Hi everybody. So in the previous recipe, I talked about the sour grapes. So here it is. Like I said, I use a lot of this stuff. So this is always frozen and it's in my freezer. So for this next recipe, I'm going to show you how I get this to be reduced. So we're going to take about a cup and we're going to put it in this small pot. I'm not going to add any water to this because it's already frozen. And then I'm going to take this and put it on low and let it cook down. And what you want to do is you do want to keep an eye on it, and as it's cooking, take your masher and mash it. Smash it up. And it's going to take about 10-15 minutes, then you're going to come back and we're going to show you what it looks like.
Okay, but in what recipe are you going to use this?
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Well,
Yes.
we are going to make celery stew. So you'll
Celery
have it
stew.
in that.
All right, great. Okay, we'll come back later.
Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make a celery stew. In Farsi it is called khoresh de karafs. And it's a very simple dish. All it is celery, parsley, a little bit of fresh mint, mushrooms, onions, and that's really about it. It's very simple. It's more on the sour side. And it's very flavorful. So I'm going to start right now. I've already warmed up my pot and I'm going to put the onions in here. We want to get that going.
That was one onion.
This was one onion, exactly. And Gustavo, thank you so much for cutting my onion because it was making me cry. So he was kind enough to. And we're going to sweat this out. And in the meantime, while the onion is cooking, I'm going to start processing the herbs. And in here we have 3 bunches of parsley and we also have 1 bunch of fresh mint that has been washed and cleaned. So we're going to put this in the food processor. going to chop away. And you don't want to make it too fine because then it'll just melt into nothing. Take that and we're going to put it in our colander here. Keep an eye out on the onions. If it needs some water, you can add some water. But right now it's still pretty good. You're going to be okay with that. We're going to put the rest of it in here. It's really important to wash your herbs. I know there's a lot of people that don't, a lot of chefs that don't, but to me, do you know that I found bugs in here before? I don't care how organic it is, and I do buy organic, but yeah, no thank you.
Yeah.
This is basically what it comes to. So let's take a look at our onion. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water in here because I don't want it to stick. Not a whole heck of a lot. Hi everybody, so it looks like our onions have caramelized. If you want to take a picture of this and show. And who says you can't caramelize onions without oil?
Oh,
right?
they're even better actually.
How many times have we heard of? Now we're going to add our parsley and fresh mint.
That's all it is, right?
That's all that's in here. And we're going to saute this a few minutes until it becomes dark green and it becomes a little fragrant.
And now that's going to release some liquid.
That is going to release some, and we're going to add just a little bit right now because I want it to steam up a little bit.
I can already smell it.
But look how green it's becoming.
Oh, yeah.
See, it doesn't really take all that long. So, now we're going to add our bag of cremini mushrooms. Now, I did open this up and I did cut them up because some of the pieces are like in big old chunks and you don't want that. So, we're going to toss that in here. This is one whole large celery. We're going to dump that in here, all chopped up. And you want to make sure, you know the leaves that are on there? Well, those are the best. Yeah. That's the best part of the celery. So you want that in there. We're going to add our puree. What was this again?
Yes. I'm trying to learn.
Well, I know. I'm trying to get Gustavo to start speaking Farsi. But it's the sour grape. And then we're going to add our water.
How much water?
Right now we're going to put 3 and see how that goes. Remember, the mushrooms are going to give off water. The herbs are going to give off water. The celery is the same thing. So, you don't want to make it too watery. Now, make sure you kind of mix all this pretty well. Look how pretty this looks. You know what I love about our food? The colors.
It's the colors.
The colors, right? Yeah. We eat with our eyes. So
it's food that looks beautiful.
I'm going to add just another cup. So don't worry, we're going to give you the full recipe to this. So you will have it. You'll have exact measurements. But again, this really, we kind of put it together. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for about 2.5 hours or so. And that's that, my friend.
Very good. Well, why don't we show how the other stew is doing?
Okay.
Once we read. So, oh, yeah, that's going well.
Right. Okay, guys, so do you remember our dried lemons that were in here?
Mm.
Look, they have completely fallen apart. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Which is good. This is so flavorful and so good. It's my favorite recipe. And this one we're gonna... Okay, so you guys remember when, you know, I put all the herbs in there and the celery and everything? Look how much of that has watered down. So we're gonna cook this on a low heat for about 3 hours and let the flavors just marinate and, you know, get in there. And again, this is all celery and parsley and fresh mint, and it smells so good. And this is meant to be a little bit on the sour side too. So we're going to adjust the seasoning. I know a lot of you cannot get, you don't have a Middle Eastern market to get the fresh sour grapes. So fresh lemon juice does wonders in here. So don't worry that you don't have all the ingredients. I will write on the recipes the substitutions that you can make. So like for this one, even for the other ones, for any recipe that calls for the sour grapes, we are going to put fresh lemon juice in there to get it to what we like.
Is it possible to get those sour grapes in like Amazon or things like that?
I don't know because it's fresh and the season is very short. So I know Middle Eastern markets are going to carry it. Indian markets may carry it. Amazon, they may carry the powder.
Oh.
So that could be an option too, but you know what? Why go to all that trouble? You can just put fresh lemon juice in here, and it's fine. You know, and some people prefer it not as sour, and some prefer it more sour. So again, with some of these stews, you got to adjust the seasonings really to your taste. I myself like things on the sour side. So again, I'll give you the basic portion of it, but you guys adjust it to your own liking. Hi, welcome back. We're going to make okra stew. Not sure how many of you guys are familiar with okra, but okra is a delicious vegetable that's, you know, you can cook it, steam it, you could put it in the air fryer, you could do all sorts of stuff with it. So we're going to make an okra stew with green beans today. And mushrooms. The reason I use mushrooms, a lot of people ask me why do I use mushrooms in a lot of the stews, is because I'm taking the meat out and we want something to replace that with. And you know, the crimini mushrooms have a meatier taste to them. And I buy it from Costco. I get these boxes of the baby bellas. They're organic. And I buy these and I wash them and then I slice them. And they're much more cost effective than if I wanted to go buy from Trader Joe's the sliced mushrooms. But you can. If that's going to make your life easier, by all means, buy the already sliced mushrooms from Trader Joe's. Even the onions. If it makes it life easier for you just to buy a 10-ounce bag of cut up onions, then by all means, use that as well. It's whatever's going to make it easier for you. So in this recipe, we are going to use the onions, and I'm going to get that going in the hot pan already. I want to start sauteing that. So I think we're ready to start adding everything else back in here. And our onions have started cooking. So let me move this over to this side. And now I'm going to add the mushrooms. Now, I know there's going to be some of you out there that don't care for the taste of mushrooms, which is fine. And there are other options that you can put in here. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So let's, you know, for those of you that don't like mushrooms, there are other things that you can put in here. One is eggplant. Now just remember that by adding eggplant, that's going to change the flavors a little bit, okay? So just be aware of that it's not going to be exactly the way this is. The other option you have, for those of you that are, you know, that like eating tofu, by all means, take out the mushrooms and put tofu in there. I know a lot of Persian families that actually cook with a lot of tofu, and they've replaced the meat with the tofu. So tofu is another option that you can put in there. So we're putting everything else in here now. Let's start adding the marinara sauce that we've made. We're going to add a can of salt-free tomato sauce. I'm going to fill this up with water and pour it in there. Because you do need to add liquid to this. And again, don't worry, all the recipe is going to have all the measurements, everything in here. We're going to add our pomegranate molasses that you can purchase at Amazon. I ordered these from Amazon, so I know you guys can get it. There's nothing but pure pomegranates in here. They have not added any sugar. Now, if you go to the Middle Eastern stores and you purchase it from them, they will have the ones that have sugar in here. So we're going to put the entire bottle in here. So now we're ready to add the frozen okra, and we're just going to dump it in here. You don't need to defrost any of this. You can just go ahead and put it in here. And then we're going to add 1 bag of green beans. So you're going to want to stir this a little bit. Now, the other thing that we're going to add in here is our sour grapes that I've already steamed and kind of gotten the juices out of it. We're going to add that in here. And that, my friend, is it for this. So we were just cooking these, and I just decided to add another bag of green beans. So I've added 2 bags of green beans. You know, the more vegetables we have in there, the better it is for us. So I wanted to show you what the sour grapes look like before they're frozen and they're picked and we use it for our cooking. This is what it looks like. This is right before the grapes are starting. This is extremely sour. This is not something that you can just pick it up like this, wash it, and eat it. I mean, some people probably could because they really like sour stuff, but for the most part, we don't use it in such a manner. So what happens from here is we go ahead and we wash it, we pick it, and then we put it into these Ziploc bags like this, and we freeze it. If you look in my freezer right now, I have got 4 bags of these. The season for these sour grapes are very short. It's right now, it's only for 3 weeks, and that's it. So we go buy a big old case of it, and we freeze it because we actually use this in every stew that we make. Now, for those of you that cannot get this, you don't have a Middle Eastern store by you that you can get this, again, use fresh lime juice. You don't have to have this. So anywhere that the recipe calls for the sour grapes, just add green lime juice to it, fresh. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my kitchen, and you're in for a treat today. I'm making one of my favorite, all-time favorite stews, well, besides gourmet sabzi, but I'm gonna make quince stew, and I know that AJ really loves this stew and a few others, and if you're not familiar with quince, we use that in a lot of dishes, and I actually bought some quince so I could show you. It kind of looks like an apple or a pear, and oh my God, it smells so good. I have chopped onions here, white onions, and I'm going to get that started because I want to start caramelizing that a little bit. So I'm going to put that in the pot. And in the meantime, I'm going to start cutting. So we'll just get that started. We're going to sweat that out. And while that's doing its thing, I'm going to cut the quince so you guys can see what it looks like. So if you notice, I'm not peeling the skin. The skin is perfectly fine to eat. And you do want to wash the quince to make sure that it's clean. And we're going to saute it, so we got a lot of quince to do.
Where did you get this? In regular? I mean, usually I haven't seen it in regular supermarkets.
Sometimes you find it in the soup, but mostly you're going to have to go to Middle Eastern markets, or Hispanic markets actually carry them. Asian markets, sometimes you'll be able to find them in there.
This one is tough. Oh, you were...
Because I got it to the core.
You got to the core, yes.
It's like mango. You know, sometimes you just hit that core. So, it's all good. We'll get it.
Oh, yeah.
And you just want to slice it like an apple.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
But it's so delicious. And if you notice, a lot of our food has that sweet and sour flavor to it.
You use a lot of lime or lemon, and
yes,
you know,
we do.
That really makes the food taste fresh, and it's super healthy.
And don't worry about these brown spots. That doesn't mean anything.
No.
We're going to saute it with the onions shortly.
And of course, when you say saute, we always say dry or water saute.
Exactly. No, exactly. You might want to show it to them how look at all the water that's already in there. And look, you don't need it.
No, you don't.
There's plenty of water in here.
Just remember that oil adds 4,000 calories per pound, which we don't want.
No, we don't want it. We don't need it.
Not only the calories, but the damage it does to your
endothelial
arteries.
Lining. As Dr.
Right.
Esselstyn with us, we want to keep our endothelials clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Shada, how many pounds have you lost since you started your...
Since I started, I have lost 120 pounds. Mm-hmm. So, and I am not about to have any, like not even 1 ounce of that coming back.
No way.
As I'm pointing with my knife.
Yes. You're totally determined.
Oh, you have no idea.
And why not? If the food that we eat is so delicious, there's no point.
There's no.
And there's no limitations on the quantity or the size or anything. We just...
Some of these pieces that are too big, I'm just cutting them in half.
Yeah, a little more.
A little bit more. That's all I'm doing. You don't have to. It's personal preference, in all honesty, but whatever you want. Like I said the other day, it's we're not baking, so this is not an exact science. You know, you can add more, you can add less. It's really to your taste. Yeah. That's the beauty of cooking, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the creative side.
Right.
Although, you know, some people like to have exact measurements and directions, and that's fine too.
You know, I actually like exact measurements for the first time if I'm trying a new recipe. Me too. But then, by the second time, forget it. It's all
like, okay, let's add a little more of this.
And a little bit more of that. Exactly. So we are now ready to start adding some of the stuff into the pot. As you can see, the onions have started caramelizing, and they're doing just fine. But I don't want them too caramelized for this. So I'm going to start adding the quince to it now, because I just want to saute the quince a little bit. And again, you probably think that this is a lot in here. What's going to happen? Don't worry. This all comes down. So we're going to saute this a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of water to create some steam in here.
Mm-hmm. It does reduce quite a lot.
Yes, it does. I really think they need to have, what's it called, smell-o-vision?
Yeah, yes.
Because the aroma is just...
Oh, it's the best.
It's the best, right? So a little bit about what else is going to go in here. Now, we use a lot of pomegranate paste. I call it paste, but it's called pomegranate molasses. This is pure pomegranate. There's nothing else added in here. Mm-hmm. Be careful when you buy, because a lot of times the ones that you see at the Middle Eastern market, if you read the ingredients, it's going to say that sugar or salt has been added to it. Not so much as the salt, but mostly the sugar. So you want to stay away from that. I found this one, Gustavo, if you want to take a close-up picture of it. I found this one on Amazon. Believe it or not, Amazon has it, and it's pure pomegranate molasses. There's nothing involved. There's no salt, there's no sugar, there's nothing, so it's pure. So this is what's going to go in there. The other thing that's going to go in here is tomato sauce. Right? Okay, so again, I like things a little bit on the sour side and all that. Some people may use a half a bottle. I actually know people that only use a half a bottle. Okay. But I use a whole bottle because I'm telling you, it's going to taste phenomenal. The combination is going to be great. Okay. The other thing that's going to go in here is mushrooms. The other thing that we use is called dried plums. Now, this is found in the Middle Eastern market. It's a little bit on the sour side. It's got seeds in there. I'm not sure if you can find it on Amazon. Perhaps you can. But if you cannot find this at your, and I know you're not going to find it at your local grocery store, Vaughn's, Ralph's, you know, those places. But you will find it at Middle Eastern markets, at Indian markets. And if you can't find this, guess what? My grandmother used to make it with prunes. So prunes is completely okay to use in this recipe. The other thing that I made last night is I made my own marinara sauce. Because I don't like the marinara sauce that you buy in a can or in a jar. And I think when you make it yourself, it's a lot tastier. What else goes in here? Then we have a can of salt-free tomato sauce. And the secret weapon that's going to go in here, guys, pineapple. And it's going to be pineapple in its own juices.
And that's chunks.
This is chunks. You don't want the crushed.
No.
I want to taste. I want to be able to bite into the pineapple with the quince, with the mushroom. It is absolutely delicious.
That sounds like the perfect combination.
So I want to show you what's been happening with the quince. As you can see, the quince has started to cook a little bit and it's gone down in size. So now we're ready to start adding all the other ingredients in here. So we're going to start with the mushrooms. The mushrooms are all going to go in here. Next, we're going to add the marinara sauce that we made. If you can make your own marinara sauce, that's fantastic. And if you can't, try to find one that has no oil in there. I think Muir Glan, if I'm not mistaken, they used to have a mushroom marinara sauce that was oil-free. That was a few years ago. I'm not sure if it still is, as I've stopped buying marinara sauce. Now we're going to add the tomato sauce. Now I'm going to add the whole bottle of the pomegranate molasses. Let me just open that up. We're going to pour that in here. Ooh, look at that. Then I'm going to show you. You know how sometimes it's really hard to get what's left inside the bottle?
Yes, I can hold the bottle.
No, it's okay. No. But I'm going to add water to it and then dump that in there.
Right.
Because we need to add water to the stew.
Okay.
So that's another way of getting it in.
Add water and shake it and get it all.
And then we're going to add, now we're going to add pineapple chunks. And if you look, it says in 100% pure pineapple. It needs to be in its own water. If it's the heavy syrup, that's the one you don't want. And you can wash that out. So we're going to add the pineapples in here.
With the juice.
With it, yeah, because the juice gives it a lot of. And you're going to say, how are we going to mix this? Well, very gently. Very, very gently. So I'm going to fill up this bottle with water. And we're going to add that in there. Because the stew does need some water in here.
All right.
Even though all this is going to give it some juice. And when you're mixing, be gentle. You don't want to crush the food. So there's one other ingredient, and then we're going to put the lid on. I'm going to bring this to a boil. Now I'm going to turn it down. As soon as it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn it down. Now, as I was mentioning, these are the sour prunes that we use that's going to go into the stew. So I've already portioned out how much of that I need. If you cannot find it, again, use prunes. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't add that till like the last hour of the cooking. I don't want to add it right away because the skin is just going to peel off and then you're going to be left with the seeds in there. So you don't want to add that right now. We're going to add that towards the end.
So we're outside in Shada's house, and if this is not a feast, I don't know what the definition of a feast is then, because we have amazing food and we have Shada here.
Hi guys.
And I have my new mother here.
Yay! My son.
my US mom. Okay, so we're going to try and make you all jealous.
And we will. I promise you that.
Yeah. So Shada will tell us how we eat this. I mean, I know that we want to have the right combination.
Absolutely. So if you give me your plate, I will serve you.
We're going to give Shada my plate here.
Yes, and I'm going to have Mom put some of the saffron rice.
So saffron rice.
And we're going to try a little bit of everything.
Yes, so don't put too much.
No, here. Just a little bit.
Because I've been picking on things.
So we're going to start with the quince stew.
You want some of that then?
Oh, the queen.
I don't know. Should we give him some tagine?
Yes, he worked very
Don't
hard.
yes.
cry, don't
Yes.
cry. We will give
Yes.
you the tagine.
After flying here
Yes.
all the
Flying
way
this
from
way.
Dallas.
All right.
Okay.
So remember, the prunes do have the seeds in here. So be very careful.
Right.
And I'm going to put some of the stew on top of the tzadik. So this is your first meal.
That is my first.
Actually, let me give you some of the zirishk too.
And I give that to Shada.
Oh wow, I get some too. Woohoo! So when you're done eating that, we're going to go to the next course.
Okay. All right. So I'm trying the quince stew that looked and smelled delicious. And
It does have
I
your
can't
approval?
explain it how wonderful it is.
Was it worth the wait?
It was worth it, although I wanted to put everything in an instant pot. But no, it was worth the wait.
But it's not going to be as flavorful, I think, in the Instant Pot.
No, it's not. And the mixture of the pineapple and the quince, and the saffron rice, absolutely delicious.
It's not for every day.
It's not. This is what we were talking with you earlier. It's something for, you know, you do on a special
You
occasion.
do on special occasions. When you invite your guests, you know, you invite them over and you want to make them a fancy meal. You invite them and you make this dish for them. So it's something different. It's something new. You make it on the holidays, on special occasions, like my mom said, and you enjoy it. It's just a very tasty meal. And the stews, whichever stew you decide to make, like this stew is absolutely delicious over potatoes.
Oh, yes.
It is
Yes.
so good over potatoes. And the stews, they all freeze really, really well. So you can go ahead and freeze these and have them and just defrost them and use them when you need them. So I highly recommend that you make these. These are so
yes.
good.
Well, and with the rice, tell me the name of it. I'm going to learn the names, but I don't know.
The first rice is the saffron rice,
Yes.
the tzadik.
The tadi. Yes.
Tzadik.
Tadi.
You can call it the crunchy part
The
of the rice.
crunchy part of the rice.
Rice, yeah. That's what Dr. Clapper called it.
Yeah, that's what Clapper calls it, the crunchy part of the rice.
Mm.
And we loved it. Dr. Hans loved it.
Well, I
Everybody-
can't imagine anybody not liking this.
No, everybody
This
liked
is
it so far.
what a lot of us want. I mean,
I crave sometimes something crunchy.
Right. You
And,
want something crunchy.
This is, I could almost see this taking it into the movie as people's popcorn.
There you go. There you go.
Mm.
And it's no oil, so you can eat
No
it,
oil.
instead of
Nobody-
potato, rice sometimes.
Nobody believes that we were actually able to do the tahdig with no oil.
Well, yeah,
And you saw how crunchy it is.
it is. It's it took a master to do it, and here she is.
He caught me with my
Mastermind.
mouth full.
Well, this is a beautiful day here in Southern California, in a beautiful garden with wonderful, beautiful china, and we're having a great time. So
Wish you guys were here with us.
we do, we wish, but in a way, in some ways, I don't wish that we're here
Yeah, 'cause
because we
now-
want more. No, just kidding. And here's the finished product of the other stews. The celery stew, the okra stew here, and what is that one? I forgot already.
The
Or
green
Miss
one.
Sabzi.
Some sea.
Or Miss
Oh,
Sabzi.
oh my goodness! You're gonna make me say it again, and I would call it the kidney beans.
Kidney bean stew. There you go.